Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is another one of those Asian movie collection addendum videos. Now I am getting way behind on these movie collection addendum videos because I have not done many of them at all this year, and I bought a lot of movies even last year that I haven't actually added to this playlist for my physical media collection. But in this video, every single movie that I'm showing you, I have reviewed on my channel. So at least even if I'm behind on my collection videos, if I see a good movie, I'm probably going to do a review of it, just to keep you up on it. So I'm going to be somewhat brief about all these films like I usually do. And if you want to see my thoughts or whatever on any of these films individually, all the reviews are on my channel. So let's go by country of origin. So let's do the Chinese and the Hong Kong films first here. And let's start off with an Oxide Pang film, The Big Call. Yes, and there's Kwai Lun Mei up there. I'll watch anything with Kwai Lun Mei. Now this is I want to say it's the Region 3 release. Yes, the Region 3 release with subtitles. I don't even think there's special features on this. Now this was a really good film. It was about basically phone call scams, but it effectively made it into a thriller. And you have Kwai Lun Mei up there as the villain of the film. Her and her boyfriend are the villains. And they orchestrate these phone call scams from different countries and stuff. And you have a task force that's trying to stop them. And there's a lot of suspense, and it's really fast-paced and fun to watch. I think this was really cool. Very nice return to form for Oxide Pang as a director. Now, the Pang brothers, I don't know if I mentioned this or not in my review of this, but I think they're actually somewhat underrated because everyone raves about The Eye. But I remember back in the day, a lot of their other films from the 2000s were trashed, even though I think a lot of them are better than The Eye. I mean, stuff like Diary, Recycle, even, I thought it was more interesting. Abnormal Beauty. And The Detective is another one. And even The Big Call. You know what I mean? A lot of their films, I think, are really kind of underappreciated. Outside of The Eye, of course. But then in the 2010s, their stuff got a little... The quality started to wane. It did. So The Big Call is, like I say, a return to form. This is a movie that I will gladly rewatch in the future. So check it out if you can. If you're a fan of Kwai Lun Mei, definitely check it out. This is good. All right. Then we got another one I reviewed, of course. I reviewed all of these. 17 Years. Now, this is from 1999. This is a Chinese film, okay? This is, the DVD says all region, so I don't know what's the deal with this. But 17 Years is a very good drama, and after an unfortunate incident, a woman basically returns to her hometown 17 years later, and it kind of goes from there. And this is broken up into some different sections. You got the childhood section, the journey section, and the reunion section. It sets up a good conflict, good friendship development here, and it has a really nice conclusion to it. Bingbing Li is a really fantastic actress. You recently saw her in The Meg. So she was in some really good flicks in the 2000s. I think The Message was another one with Oshin. So this is one of her first big-time roles that helped her obtain popularity. So check out 17 Years if you're looking for a really good quality drama film. It's good. All right, here's one that I might be on the minority on. I'm not even sure. Master Z, Ip Man Legacy with Jin Zhang, Dave Bautista, Michelle Yeoh, and Tony Jaa makes a cameo appearance. I like this movie. I think it's good. I think the fighting's good. The plot is pretty basic, but whatever. You know what I mean? A lot of those Hong Kong flicks from the 80s and 90s have pretty basic plots, but as long as it delivered the action and maintained a good pace, I'm good with it, and that's what this film did. This is another all-region film, or all-region DVD copy. And, yeah, I think the fighting was pretty solid in this. Good pacing. The fights were spaced out nicely. And check out my full-length review if you want additional details on this. I think it's a good addition to the Ip Man universe. All right, now this is one. I haven't seen one of these in years. You remember these? These, like, slipcase things? I actually got this from... this wasn't a regular distribution purchase. I actually contacted somebody from Cineflix, the website that shut down years ago, and I contacted them and said, "Hey, have you got any like old school DVDs that are still in your library that you want to sell me cheap since you're out of business?" And because they were selling their stuff on, I think they have like an Amazon store or an eBay store. But I contacted them directly. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you a few films for like a few bucks each." So I bought this for like $2 or something. And Lacuna is basically, it has a similar premise to like The Hangover, but you have a guy and a girl who wake up together after a night of drinking, and they're so drunk they don't remember what happened. But this is very different from The Hangover because it's very low key, very like charmingly low key to it, but there's a lot of humor in it, and Sean Yu and this other actress here, sometimes I forget, let me look up her name real quick. Lacuna. Jing Chu Zhang, who, this was immediately before she went on a streak of garbage movies. Like, she just was in, like, a handful of just garbage in the 2010s. I'm not sure who was picking her roles, but this was, like, the last good movie that she did before a streak of crap. And I don't know if she's done one the past few years that was good, but man. So she's very good in this. So if you want, like, a romantic comedy with, like, the Hangover premise that's more low-key, check out Lacuna. Lacuna's good. And check out my full-length review. And I'll include titles in the description box of this video just so you know how to spell the films that I'm talking about. So we'll end the Chinese Hong Kong section of this video with two of the best action movies of all time. Of all time. You have John Woo, Bullet in the Head. Yes, Bullet in the Head. And this is one where you basically have three childhood friends, Tony Leung, Jackie Chung, and Weiss Lee. Weiss Lee's an underrated actor. They fight to prove their places in two riotous worlds, the uprising-ridden Hong Kong and Viet Cong-infested Saigon in the 1960s. They run into bloody troubles with ruthless gangs, corrupt militia, and eventually each other. And Simon Yam has a big supporting role in this. This movie's freaking awesome. Like, I always remembered it being really good, but I rewatched it before I reviewed it on my channel, and it elevated to just ultra, just A-grade classic status. This movie has tons of action, and it has some good, like, dramatic impact to it as well. It kind of has, like, that brotherhood, the brotherhood aspect, where you have these guys that are, like, blood brothers, and things go bad. And there's some crazy scenes in this flick, man. Some pretty unexpected scenes. And if you have not seen Bullet in the Head, I think this is John Woo's most underappreciated film. Not a lot of people talk about this one. When people go back to his older days, they're like, oh, Hard Boiled, which is my personal favorite. Or they go, A Better Tomorrow, The Killer. I think Bullet in the Head is better than A Better Tomorrow or The Killer. So this is up there. If you have not seen it, watch it. This is a Blu-ray, Region A Blu-ray. So you should be able to find this at a reasonable price, I think. There's not really a lot of special features on it either. This movie's awesome. And then another one that no one ever mentions. And this I really think this movie needs a lot more exposure. The Longest Nite. Yes, Tony Leung and Lau Ching-wan. This movie's just badass. You basically have two triad leaders vie for the right to manage a string of casinos in Macau. which sparks an exhausting battle. And a twist of fate brings the two gangster bosses together in collaboration, but rumors have it otherwise. Now a murderous plot is about to unfold with a secret bodyguard stuck in the middle of it all. A stylish and gritty triad thriller. Yes, this movie is extremely stylish. It's just utterly compelling from start to finish. There's some just classic scenes in this sucker. And just the rivalry between Lau Ching-wan and Tony Leung in this is just dynamite. This is a movie that just needs a lot more exposure. I'm not even sure if it has a Blu-ray release or not. This is a DVD. It's an all-region DVD, so look on eBay or Amazon. You might be able to find it. But man, if you did a double header of this and Bullet in the Head and you've never seen either film, you're going to have a pretty entertaining evening. And it was directed by Patrick Yao. Who, I think he directed one other film, right? Expect the Unexpected, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but that was another good one. I kind of wish this guy would have directed more action flicks, because he didn't direct that many. So yes, check this one out. Alright, let's move to South Korea next, which is the smaller pile, and then I bought a lot of Japanese movies over the past year. In fact, maybe my next update video, I might do the box sets that I got, because I purchased a few box sets over the course of the past year that are really money. So maybe I'll do that next. That'll be a big video. But let's do the Korean stuff here. And we have a Blu-ray DVD combo pack of The Divine Fury. Oh, yes. Now, I saw online, some people are getting, even before I saw this movie, people are getting hyped up over the action elements of this. This is like a horror action flick in terms of its marketing. Unfortunately, it's basically a horror film for like 85% of its runtime, and then you have a badass action scene at the end. So don't expect an action film. It's basically, after losing his father at a young age, a man abandons his Christian faith and chooses only to believe in himself. But now as an adult, he's a champion fighter until a mysterious wound appears on the palm of his hand and he finds himself in the middle of a dangerous fight against otherworldly evil forces. So this is I would say mostly an exorcism film, because this dude teams up with a priest. All right, he teams up with a priest and they start performing exorcisms together. And then near the end of the movie, it turns into like an exorcism action flick, which is pretty freaking cool. But I felt, and you'll see this in my review if you check my review of this, I felt like it downplayed the action elements too much, which made it feel a little bit conventional during the first 3/4 of the film. I feel like this should have gone the Blade route and done an action horror instead of horror action. But it's still a good flick. I enjoyed it. The Divine Fury, check it out if you get a chance. It's pretty good. I like it. There's a making of featurette and some behind the scenes and a trailer on this. And this is the Region A release. Alright, here was a big one. I heard good things about this movie online. Okay. But I wasn't entirely sure. But it turned out to be a very nice surprise. And that is Exit. Now, this is one of those Korean films from last year. This is very recent. That its premise almost sounds generic. It almost sounds like, oh, it's a generic disaster movie or something. But this is not generic. It's very, almost charming. It's charming and personable. This is something that you would expect from a Korean film like in 2005 or something. It's not like just a cash grab generic disaster film. Basically, a mad scientist unleashes a toxic, glowing fog into the city center, I think of Seoul. I think it was where it takes place. And these people here are amateur rock climbers, and they need to scale the city buildings and find ways to get up the buildings and go from building to building and scale the sides of the buildings in order to get to a rooftop and signal for help for the helicopters to, because they can't go down because this toxic fog has enveloped the streets and it's seeping into the buildings and rising up the building levels. So these people need to put their rock climbing skills to the test and do some urban scaling of buildings. So it's kind of, it's a little bit odd, but I really enjoyed it. This movie's a lot of fun to watch. The chemistry between the leads is good. It's funny. It's a funny film. And there's some neat scenes. You know, you don't really... You can always tell when a movie is really cool when you watch it and you're like, man, you know, I've never really seen anything quite like this before. This has a certain uniqueness to it that you're not expecting going into it. So I definitely recommend this. And again, check out my review if you want more information on it. I almost feel like rewatching it again. Maybe tomorrow night. One that I reviewed very recently, Bleak Night. This is a fantastic drama that really kind of delves into complex relationships of high school boys. More specifically, when you have like a very, I guess, an alpha male who almost kind of manipulates or coerces other boys at school to be his friend. And kind of like, it's really complicated, the relationships in this film. And that's one of the reasons that makes it so entertaining and very, like, insightful. I found this film to be very intricate in its script writing. You know, some of the scenes, you understand like how their relationship works as friends over the course of the film. And it's very interesting stuff. So again, if you're not convinced, check out my review. But this one is the, just like Exit, it was, Exit is the Region 3 release. This is the Region 2 release. This is the UK release, the Third Window Films release. There's a theatrical trailer, and the director has a 30-minute short film on this, which I have not yet seen, so I should probably check that out. So, Bleak Night. If you like, it's a little slow-paced. It's a drama. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, check it out. And then, obviously, I had to add Parasite to my collection. You know, did a separate review of this. If you've not seen another big video I did a few months ago was the history of Korean Oscar submissions for Best Foreign Language Film in association with this. And check out that video if you haven't already. I thought that was a pretty good video I did. The only bonus feature on this is a question and answer with Joon-ho. And this is the American, I think it was just a DVD I got for this. But Criterion is coming out with a big release for this, I think later this year, possibly. Again, if you have not... do I even need to talk about this? I mean, just look it up and watch it if you haven't already. This movie's big time. All right, now we go to... Well, we got a few other films before we get to Japan. We got a few others before we get to Japan. We got a Thai film, which I've reviewed twice. I did a separate review of this, and then I did a review of my Asian horror playlist from 2015 that I just uploaded the other day. The Black Death. So this is a zombie film that's set in like hundreds of years ago in Thailand. So it's almost like if you like, you know, Kingdom, the Korean TV series, or Rampant, the Korean movie where you have zombies in the past. That's what this is, but it's the Thai version of it, basically. And I like this movie a lot. It's got, you know, you basically have a setup period where you have some likable characters, some unlikable characters. And then the zombie outbreak hits in this village, and it's every man and woman for themselves. So it's very, very entertaining. There's some good action and horror in it. I think, you know, the old school weapons that they use, it's always cool to watch zombie scenes where the people have to use old school weapons from like the 1500s to fight them. It just mixes things up instead of just always having guns and stuff, right? This is the Region 3 release with English subs. My big problem with this movie, the only problem I really have with it, is the ending is so abrupt. Like, it almost demands a sequel, but it never got one. And this came out 5 years ago, so my guess is that it won't get one. But even with the abrupt ending, I really enjoyed it. And then the last film before our Japanese batch, I also reviewed this on my channel, Mon 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 Monsters. This is a Taiwanese film, a horror film. Don't let the stupid title fool you. This movie's really good. Again, a movie that focuses on bullying, and it does it really well. Like, surprisingly well. You know what I mean? It's very... Man, I almost feel like I can't really talk about it. And I kind of pulled some punches in my review because I didn't feel like talking about too many details regarding the plot. It deals with some monsters, and it deals with some high school students, and bullying. And the bullying is kind of like the centerpiece that is the foundation of the whole film. This one kind of, I did not expect this to be as impressive as it turned out to be. No real special features, I don't think, on this at all. This is probably the Region 1 DVD copy. So yeah, check out Mon 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 Monsters. I know the title sounds odd and lame, but this movie actually, it packs a punch. Alright, now the Japanese section. There's a little pile here. I'm starting with one. It's a little bit divisive. It's a bit divisive. Before We Vanish from Kiyoshi Kurosawa. This is a very odd alien invasion film. But, I was talking about Shinya Tsukamoto the other day, right? In the Solid Metal Nightmares video, and I said that you can always tell when Shinya Tsukamoto directs a movie. That's kind of the same thing about Kiyoshi Kurosawa. Yeah, this is an alien invasion film, but Kiyoshi Kurosawa directed it. So this is going to be different from just about any alien invasion film you're ever going to see. No special features. This is the Region 1 DVD. And it's hard to talk about this. I almost don't want to, just because it's very odd. But it almost has like some black humor in it. It has a little bit of action and thrills to it. But this is something where, I think Kiyoshi Kurosawa's sense of humor really comes through in this film. And a lot of people don't associate him with a sense of humor. I think like Doppelganger was a humorous film, and a lot of his 90s stuff were comedies with Shoei Kawa. Like the Suit Yourself or Shoot Yourself films, there was like 6 of those. Those were pretty humorous, and it's unfortunate that some of his humorous films haven't made their way to like big-time U.S. releases, so people don't see him as like a comedy director, even though he has some good comedy chops. But again, some people don't like this because it's a little odd, it's a little awkward, and maybe they're expecting a more serious alien invasion horror film, you know what I mean? But you got Ryohei Matsuda, Masami Nagasawa in this, so you got some good actors. And if you want something a little different, a little quirky, check out Before We Vanish. This is actually one of my favorites from him in recent memory. I think this one's really entertaining and interesting. And we got a Toshiaki Toyoda film, 9 Souls. 9 Souls. This is a big one. You basically have a bunch of prisoners break free from jail, and they basically go on a road trip. This is kind of like a road trip movie, and again, I do have a separate review of this, but you basically have one thing I noticed rewatching this one is that by the end of the film, you want to watch the film again, because you start off with these guys as a group, and then they kind of throughout the film they break off. One guy will go and something will happen to him, or he'll rectify something or whatever. He'll go on his own way. And then another guy will go on his own way. And another guy, and then it like whittles down your group. So by the end of the film, you're only stuck with a few dudes. And you're like, oh man, I kind of feel like watching the beginning of the film again to spend more time when they were all together. That's one thing that I noticed while rewatching this. This is Region 1 DVD. And you have interview with the director, Toshiaki Toyoda, who's very underrated and underappreciated. Trailers, filmographies, promotional material. This has a full-length commentary with Tom Mess. I have not listened to the commentary on this. I gotta listen to that. He does a bunch of commentaries and he's good. So yeah, this one also has Ryohei Matsuda in it. So yeah, Nine Souls, if you want a good, solid Japanese drama, this is a really good movie. Alright, we got another big one. Big time release. This is a Criterion release. I only have a handful of Criterion films in my collection, or releases in my collection, but Tampopo. I had to get this. And this is like one of the most entertaining movies about food ever. Again, check out my full-length review of it. I think Koji Akusho is in this. And, yeah, there's some really good stuff in here. You got a making-of 90-minute documentary from 1986, narrated by Juzo Itami, the director. Again, another Japanese director. Someone needs to come out with a box set of his stuff. I mean, come on. He was like one of the best Japanese directors of the 80s and 90s. And we need like a box set or something, because he was really good. A new interview with Nobuko Miyamoto. A new interview with a food stylist. A ramen scholar interview. And, a new video essay. Trailers. And more stuff. It's just loaded. So, yeah, Tampopo, if you like weird movies, because this movie does get a little weird for a comedy, but it's you're never really going to see a movie quite like this. It revolves around food, very almost like vignettes, I guess you call them. It almost feels like an anthology or like a separate skits that are linked together by an overarching story, is the kind of the impression I got with this. Very interesting film. Tampopo, check it out. I gotta watch some of the special, like, even though I've watched like 99% of the films I have in my library. Like, I don't buy movies and then not watch them. Like, I feel like I have to watch them immediately after I buy them, with a few exceptions. Maybe TV series that I bought that take a while to get through, or anime series that take a while to get through. But I've seen like 99% of the stuff, but it's the special features that I slack on. So a lot of this stuff that I have special features that I've never seen, because I'm like, well, I could rewatch the movie with a special feature or watch something else. So, I've been good with the Godzilla stuff. I basically watched all the special features on the Godzilla stuff, or most of them. And there's some movies that I do, but that's what I get behind on. And I need to do like a run on special features one of these months or years and just hammer them all out. Oshin. Again, this is a film that, again, goes under the radar, but is excellent. This is set, in the past. You have a little girl, because her family's so poor, they basically lend her out to a wealthier family or a better off family to do housework. And her family gets food and rice to survive the winter. So she goes, and it's a crapshoot. You might get sent to a family who's not bad. You might get sent to a family that's horrible. And this goes through her plights as a little girl, just trying to just work her way through, and for the sake of her family's well-being. And this movie's just really good. It's a great drama. It really is. And it makes you realize how spoiled you are, as a person. Be like, I never had to do like hard labor like this when I was like 8 years old. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine watch this movie and tell me you're not spoiled? You know what I mean? So it kind of puts some perspective in your life. This is a really good movie. What region? Oh, this is the Region 3 release with subtitles. No special features. And we have Aya Ueto, Azumi. And this is one of her best performances in this. Takashi Miike, First Love. This is the Blu-ray DVD combo pack, Region A. Alright. This is one of the bigger or most high-profile Japanese releases of last year. And it's very entertaining. It's basically a Yakuza conflict film where the crap hits the fan and just, a lot of people die, and there's a lot of conflict. There's some, it says bonus features, trailers. I don't know if there's that much in terms of bonus features on this. You got a good cast in this. The acting's top notch. You know, I was glad to see Miike go, get away from like the cartoonish manga adaptations and go more to like a Yakuza flick that's just like fun. And this is what he did. Very cool movie. I got to see this in the theater as well. Yes, so that was a nice experience. You know, some people would say this is his best film since 13 Assassins. I don't know. I think his films from the last decade are a little underrated. Lesson of the Evil, I thought, was very solid. As the God's Will is phenomenal. I don't care what anyone says. That movie's so much fun. Even Over Your Dead Body. Check out my review of that film, either in my Miike playlist or my Asian horror playlist. I think that movie's horrendously underappreciated. And Blade of the Immortal was fun, too. And there's some other ones, too. So, this is one of his best from the last decade. I don't know if I would necessarily say that it's my favorite, though. But it's very good. Alright. Chaos, another one I reviewed just recently. Again, I'm on this slow-paced Japanese thriller trip. And there's a few more in a subsequent update that I'll tell you about too, that I also reviewed on my channel. So if you follow my channel, you already know this stuff. But Chaos, very underappreciated film from Hideo Nakata, the director of Ring, and no one ever talks about this film. And this is one of his best. It's basically about a kidnapping plot gone wrong. All right, and that's all I'll tell you about this. And is it Miki Nakatani? Was she in this? I always forget. Yeah, Miki Nakatani. And the villain from Cure is a main character in this. So you get to see him in this as well. Always like seeing him. Not really any special features. This is a Region 1 release. But this movie will make you think. You gotta be on your game. It shifts time periods. It's it's like a mystery film. And you gotta put the pieces together yourself a little bit. Like, wait, what happened? What happened? And this is really good stuff, people. Definitely check out Chaos if you have not already. It's a great example of what Nakata can do when he's on his game. This is probably one of his best. It's one of his best. Alright, then we got 3 of the Resident Evil anime films. Now, I did a video on Resident Evil talking about the American films and the Japanese anime films. And I covered these in that video. And I would say the Japanese Resident Evil films are good to very good. They're good to very good. So this is Degeneration. This is the first one, I believe. They kind of have similar titles. I kind of wish they would have more inventive titles. They're kind of generic titles. But Degeneration, okay, you have a featurette here, you got bloopers, a Leon interview, trailers, and character profiles, and a look at Resident Evil 5 video game. Yeah, this gets back to, this is way more, similar to the video games when compared to those crappy Mila Jovovich movies. And this one was a good start. Degeneration was a good start. I enjoy it. It's a good flick. But then Damnation improved upon that. This one is very good. All right, this is like the final fight in this one. It's pretty fantastic. So this one you have making of, a few different reels and featurettes and a gag reel. But you have some characters from the games that show up in these. This really does make a very nice triple feature. It really does. I might have to do that sometime. I've rewatched these recently, but I would say that Damnation and Vendetta are better than Degeneration. Here's Vendetta for you. This is the third one. And I talk about these in that Resident Evil video. Vendetta has the best animation quality. You'll see the animation quality improve with each of these because they're released in subsequent years, of course. And this one has a audio commentary and a stills gallery. This one is very actiony, even more actiony than the other two. I know some people want to want to get a Resident Evil anime film that's 100% horror. And I would be down for that. You know, really ramp up the horrific elements to it. But as, like, horror action hybrids, I think all three of these are entertaining movies. You know, and you could check out my video if you want plot descriptions and additional thoughts on those. So that, again, definitely on the right track. I would love to see, you know, either a live action or an anime film that's like, you know, we should, like I said in my video on Resident Evil, just do an anime. Anime, you could do whatever you want. You're not restricted to, like, live action constraints. I would just like to see anime movies. Resident Evil, Resident Evil 2, Nemesis, Code Veronica. You know what I mean? Just make movies out of those plots. You could tweak them. And that's what I want to see. But I don't know. They just don't seem to want to do them. But, you know, for what we have between the live action films and these, at least these are pretty good. And then finally, a film that has been on my mind a lot recently. I definitely enjoy this one more than most people will. Nobody. This is one with Masaya Kato. And it's another slow-paced Japanese thriller about some businessmen who clash. And these businessmen just screw up because the other businessmen they clash with are just psychopaths. Like murderous psychopaths. And it's very like slow burn thriller, tension based type of film. And I really enjoy this. I just love the aesthetic. Like some of these Japanese and Chinese films, and even Korean films, from right around the turn of the century, late 90s, early 2000s, have a certain aesthetic. Like they're very soft in their cinematography, in the cameras that they were using. Like they're not sharp like a lot of modern films. So you have like this softer feel to the film, and I think that really lends to like slow burn thrillers, dreamy films, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where you don't really want those crisp images when you're watching a movie kind of like this. So I think maybe the time it was made kind of benefits it for me. But yeah, check it out if you don't mind a slow burn Japanese thriller. It's pretty cool. That's it. All right, so I am nowhere near caught up. Like my list of films that I bought over the past year and a half is just accumulated. So I'm going to try to do some of these, try to catch up a little bit. I'm going to do a video on, like I said, the Japanese box sets. I got some good ones, too. You know, I did the Tsukamoto set already. I got a small handful of others that I used gift certificates on. And then I got hopefully the Gamera set will be coming in July. So that'll be another huge freaking video that I'll be doing. So, yeah, we'll keep rolling on these. And as always, I'll see you next time.